Because you were Megan Good that every man wanted to be with. I'm just saying. You know.
There's a lot of
every man except for me.
There's a lot of gay men that said I would go
reasons.
straight for a moment just to have that moment with Megan Good. Tons
Yeah,
of them.
I've learned not to drunk drive. I stay in my lane. But
I'm not even gonna say
But I
I'm gonna
will
be
say-
the party pooper. I was gonna say I was a guy that always thought she was beautiful, but I wanted to work with her more than want her. Yeah,
well, all the people that I know don't have talent in acting, so
That's true.
they weren't thinking of acting. They were in love with Megan Good, and
Yeah.
you dated some interesting people. You dated 50 Cent, right?
I did.
It's been so long.
To be honest,
yeah.
to be honest, and just for clarity on that, that was over a decade ago.
Really?
You know, when we dated, and it was for about a year, and I kept it under the radar intentionally.
She did.
Because at that time in my career, I had just come off of Biker Boys. I had just did the music video, and my career was going in a really great way. And what I didn't want was my connection to
Relationship,
him
yeah.
to be the catalyst in any type of success that I had. I didn't want anything from him. I'm not the type of person. I've always made my own money. I've always taken care of myself. I've always taken care of my family. So for me, it was really about protecting myself, because if people couldn't see the relationship for what it was, they would label me a certain way. So I just kept it under the radar, and the fact that people found out 10 years later, I'm like, but that was like, what do you want?
But here's the thing: is
You know
that
what I mean?
50 is actually like a really great
Yeah.
guy.
I saw him the other night.
He's the nicest guy ever. Great conversationalist. Kind of, in touch with his emotions.
Yeah.
Very in touch
Yeah.
with his emotions.
I think-
but just shut up.
People would be surprised.
Yeah.
People would be surprised at what a nice human being he is. You have to remember, it's someone that was raised by their grandmother. So by all accounts, even what you see in the public eye is not necessarily a true representation of that person's heart. And I wouldn't have been with somebody who was a negative person or a mean person or whatever it was. It was definitely a person that, when I knew him,
I think
very kind.
sometimes he lashes out on Instagram, so him and Gilbert kind of get thrown in the bucket of being crazy.
There's the persona, and then there's the person,
Right.
and there's a clear differentiation between the.
I just thought of a connection between you two again. I'm sitting here looking. First of all, Megan looks young as hell.
Yeah.
You do.
So does she.
You look
I
like-
came in
you-
here
you
like,
look
let me
like
get
you-
that found in youth.
But we talk about her all the
I
time.
was just
Yeah, so
rubbing
you're
cocoa
here.
butter on
You know what?
myself
No,
right
you know
before we
what's so
started
crazy is
filming.
that anytime we interview a man, you have massive amounts of cocoa butter on your breast.
It dried
and a
up.
lot going on. Today, you're really.
It
No, I
dried
saw
up.
her put that shit on.
It was filmed. He filmed.
She could've
me
baked
putting
a
it
whole
on.
But
bag
anyway,
of
back
chicken.
to the connection between you and Megan. I'm looking at Megan. I'm thinking of Waist Deep.
Right.
I love that movie.
Thank you.
Remember, Games in that movie, right?
Yeah, Game is the movie.
He said you drive a Honda Accord. That was the only thing I was thinking. Even though you didn't drive a Honda Accord.
Yeah, but then he also
Shut
said,
the
picture me like.
It's in my-
And I called him. I was like, Game. I was like, what? Picture Megan like Megan
So
and Jamie
here's the-
Foxx.
and here-
Clarity on that. Me and Jamie never dated. Nothing has ever happened.
I was just
between
going to
us.
ask you about that too.
And I really felt a way. I had to call him. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, no, I'm just saying, imagine that. I'm like, but in light of those pictures, which were totally misrepresentative of what actually happened, it was a jokey thing. I was surprised. I was actually in a relationship that I had just broken up with the guy, and we were trying to get back together when those pictures came out. And I was like, what?
So you're talking about Game's song "Wouldn't Get Far."
Yeah.
So here's the crazy thing about that song is nobody remembers anybody else mentioned except me. Like for real. It's like it's the bane of
Melissa
my
Ford
existence.
drives the Honda Accord.
It's the bane of my existence. It's my cross to bear. And I
So
don't
you
even
were.
get it.
She was mentioned in the same song.
She's
Honda's
mentioned-
a good car.
He talks. We will get back to that.
Wait, and so what? Yours wasn't true, and
Gabrielle
yours wasn't
Union
true.
was mentioned. He mentioned at least 30. He talks about Takara. He talks about Gloria Velez. He talks about Vita Guerrera. He talks about a plethora.
And so
of
it wasn't.
women
So,
who are in
so
the
it was. So
industry.
basically, all of this wasn't true. But this song is, I guess, it grew legs, right?
What
People
happened to
believe
Vita?
it.
It grew everything. An entire skeletal system. Yes, and ran down the street. Couldn't catch it.
Well, for the record, none of it was true.
Thank you.
Game was just being creative.
Thank you.
You are so politically
That's
correct.
so dope, man.
You know,
Been
me,
in
I'd
the
be like, your
industry
ass
since
was
birth.
lying. Okay, so you've had your relationships, and now you're married,
Yeah.
and your husband is a minister.
Yeah.
So you're a first lady.
Evidently.
How do